If, like myself, you're an exclusive or avid barefoot shoe wearer, or you're just simply interested in healthier footwear, then keep watching this video as I review my first ever fully waterproof pair of zero drop boots. If you do enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and to subscribe if you haven't already. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and thanks for joining me. So if you're new here, my name is Meg, welcome to Red Curl Vegan. If you're already familiar with my channel or you've stumbled across my videos in the past, then you may know that I am a huge advocate for wearing barefoot shoes. And in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing my most recent zero drop or minimalist shoe purchase, and that is the Wellington boot or wellie or rain boot from Pokeboo. I'm going to be running through the general characteristics of them as always, an overview of my opinion of them, the company, where I bought them from, how much they cost, what they're made of, and all that good stuff. So let's jump right into it. So I actually discovered this company via an Instagram account called Barefoot Universe, which I will link in the description box down below for you, and I definitely recommend you go and check them out because they review hundreds of different pairs of barefoot shoes. They talk all about the advantages of wearing minimalist shoes and how they're generally better for our health. I clicked on their highlight labelled rain boots, and I'm so glad that I did because I'll be honest, I hadn't heard of Pokeboo as a company previously. These are also briefly featured on Anya's reviews as well. She's a huge content creator in the barefoot shoe world. She's reviewed hundreds if not thousands of different pairs of barefoot shoes. I think she's based in the US, but she has a very in-depth website and also an Instagram account which I'll link down below for you to check out as well. So these boots cost me £69.99 plus £2.50 postage, so £72.50 basically. They came via a UK based shop online, so that really appealed to me, but they do also offer international shipping. They are made of natural rubber and the inner is nylon as well as the upper gate or cuff here that you can see. So they are fully waterproof, they're packable, they are ultra lightweight, super flexible as you can see, very, very thin, and they also have a wonderful zero drop sole. So Pokeboo don't market themselves as a specifically barefoot shoe company, but these are definitely minimalist boots. They tick all but one of the boxes of what you would look for in a barefoot shoe, apart from possibly the toe box, which I will go into detail further into the video. So they offer 4 different colour variations, which I'll pop up on the screen so that you can have a look, but I will also link their website in the description box down below so that you can go and look at all of their boots in more detail. Pokeboo as a company do only sell these 4 colour variations of boots. They don't sell anything else, and when I purchased these a couple of months ago, they had a section in their shop where it said there was a new tread, but when you clicked on it the page was blank, so I assume they were still going through the whole sort of advertising manufacturing stage. But now, upon preparing for this video, I've gone back and looked on their website and they now actually have a new pair with a new tread. So I would recommend you go and check them out if you're interested in maybe a more in-depth, rigorous tread, so to speak. These are a very, very flat sole. They don't basically have any tread at all or any lug, and I think they've brought out this new tread to provide more grip, and it has a slightly more raised heel. So for me personally, they wouldn't be of interest, but I can understand how they might provide maybe a better feeling of security on certain grounds if grip is something that you're worried about. So I actually purchased the charcoal and the khaki pair. This is the khaki pair, and I wanted to do a sort of side-by-side comparison of the colours because the charcoal pair have an upper that is khaki, but they're more of a grey hue to them, whereas these are fully khaki with the brown upper. I decided to keep these in the end because if you're familiar with my channel, you'll know that green is my favourite colour, and I felt that these sort of ticked more boxes in terms of my minimalist wardrobe and how they would coordinate with everything. But like I said, I'll pop the other colour variations up on the screen. So in terms of sizing, much to my surprise, I actually had to buy these in a size 7 to 7.5. Now on their website they have a very in-depth size guide and a really good size chart that you can refer to with all of the different measurements. I recommend that you thoroughly look into that before you buy them. They also have a section where they give you the measurements of the widest part of the sole, so the toe box area, and then also where they give you the measurements of the cuff or the gaiter, so basically the widest part of the upper of the boot. So that was a real deciding factor for me. Like I said, I recommend that you look into that in depth and that you measure your feet correctly. When I measured my feet in preparation for buying these, I measured them with and without socks, and I basically, after a lot of deliberation, I decided that I needed at least 25 centimetres in length for my feet to have enough room and for my toes to be able to spread well enough, even if I was wearing thin socks or thick socks. So I am usually a UK size 6, and the only other pair of barefoot shoes that I own where I've had to size up, so to a UK size 7, is the Tracker High FGs from Vivo Barefoot, which I purchased, if you're familiar with my channel, refurbished from Revivo. So those are the only pair where I've actually had to size up. And I had to do the same with these, purely based on flexibility and wanting to allow my toes to have enough space. So the one thing that I will say in terms of them not being a barefoot shoe company is, whilst they tick every single other box you would want from a minimalist pair of shoes, the toe box is a little bit tapered. Now, they, like I said, don't claim to be an exclusive barefoot shoe company, and they do state on their website under the size chart that they are wider than standard footwear, which I would agree with, but they are still a little bit tapered in the front. So they're not as wide as you would want for a typical barefoot shoe. They could do with being a bit straighter on the big toe side and then having a little bit more room here. So technically you can't achieve full toe splay in its most natural state, but because I went up a size, which, like I said, was a sort of deliberation of mine running through all the different measurements, I basically opted for the bigger size because it allows my toes to spread a little bit more. So I'm a UK size 6, just for reference if this is helpful for you, and I went with the 7 to 7.5 pair, which is a large on their website. The difference in measurements is only a centimetre, so they go in increments of half sizes. I won't read them all out, but basically the 7 to 7.5 was a sole length of 25.5 centimetres to 26 centimetres. So you always want to allow for a couple of millimetres at least for room and, you know, maybe production differences and that kind of thing. And then the difference between the medium and the large in terms of the toe box was 9 or 9.5 centimetres. So I felt that my toes, when I measured them, needed 9.5 centimetres in the toe box area. So one of the other great things that I love about these boots, aside from the fact that they are ultra lightweight, super flexible, packable, foldable, very, very thin, and they have a flat sole and a good enough width of toe box, is that they also come with this super handy carry bag. So you can just literally pop them in here, and you can, I won't bother fiddling around with it on camera, but you can fold it around like that in effect and tie the straps around and pull the drawstring, and it even comes with this super handy carabiner or hook. So they are incredibly practical in terms of camping, or if you're wanting to travel light, or you haven't got a lot of room, or you're carrying a lot of other stuff, or, you know, you're hiking and maybe you're wearing a particular pair of boots at the start of the journey and then the weather gets worse and you just want to hook these onto your rucksack. Whatever the circumstances are, I think it's absolutely amazing to have a pair of boots that literally folds up like that, and you can just pack them away in this tiny little bag. Even comes with the hook, which I think is super cool. In terms of being ultra lightweight, they definitely do what they say on the tin. So I actually weighed both of them together and they came in at just 466 grams. So that's less than an average 500ml bottle of water, for example. Another thing I like about the company is that the packaging was plastic free. The box wasn't oversized, and it also came with cardboard instructions here. Admittedly, they are in Japanese, so not much help to me. And they do offer a English paper version here, and then they just had some simple paper to pad them out on the inside, so that was a big plus for me. Like I said at the start, they also came with removable insoles, which do have an ever so slightly raised arch and a bit of heel backing support here. I personally won't be wearing them just because I like to be as close to the ground as possible and have the most optimum barefoot shoe experience as I can. So the design of them is actually based on traditional Japanese rice planting boots. So I feel like it's really cool to be able to have access to that sort of design here in the UK, and particularly to find an almost barefoot shoe version of them, because I'm going to compare them now for you with the old conventional Wellingtons or welly boots that I used to own previously. So like I said at the start, it can be really difficult to find barefoot shoe alternatives to our conventional mainstream shoes that we used to know and that we've worn all of our lives. And if you're anything like me and you've fully transitioned, you'll know that fully waterproof rain boots are really, really difficult to come by. So that's why I'm so excited about these, and I'm going to give you a comparison to my old wellies here. A standard typical looking pair here in the UK. As you can see, they have a thick raised sole that isn't zero drop. They've also got a thick heel. There's no flexibility whatsoever in that heel. There's a tiny bit of flexibility there, but barely anything at all. They are very tapered in the toes, so they aren't foot shaped. They're not healthy for our toes. They don't allow for our feet or our toes to move naturally with natural freedom, basically. In terms of the upper, I mean, yeah, I guess they are flexible, but they are obviously nothing like these that just literally roll up like that. They're a very heavy, clunky, pretty clumsy boot. I grew up on a farm, and to be honest, I pretty much lived in wellies as a child, so this is all very familiar to me, and it's very strange, I guess, to be sort of moving these on and finding a pair like that. But I'm so glad that I have, because I look at these soles and these really thick, deep lugs and how little flexibility there is in them, and I just sort of can picture wearing them, how sort of clumsy and clunky and noisy they are. And in comparison to these, they are just not healthy, they're not practical, you know, you can't roll them up, they're not packable and all that kind of stuff, but more to the point, they're not very healthy. So I actually weighed these as well as a comparison, and they came in at just over 1.1 kilos, so more than half or more than double the weight of these. So again, the lightweightness of these is definitely a huge bonus. But yeah, just for comparison, I will pop some clips up on the screen for you to have a look at what the Pokeboos look like, and I'll also do some sort of aerial photos with 1 foot of these on and 1 foot of the Pokeboos on, just so you can see the difference, and the clip will hopefully show you what these actually look like on. So just going back briefly to the sizing that I mentioned earlier, and the whole size chart that they provide, and the guiding on the measurements and everything, I do worry that they are going to be ever so slightly too big for me, but it's too late for me to return them now. However, on the plus side, I know that I've allowed my toes as much room as I possibly could. So in the clips or the photos that I pop up on screen, you'll be able to see that I can splay my toes almost fully, but they do sort of go over the side of the sole, if that makes sense, because the sole is slightly narrower than the actual boot, if that makes sense. And in terms of the sizing, it does also mean that they're a little bit baggy for me. I've got very skinny ankles, I don't have chunky calves, so that's also something potentially for you to bear in mind. They don't fit, I guess, as rigidly as these would, and I did find that with very thin socks on, my toes were ever so slightly gripping, which isn't a great thing, because then that's sort of altering the natural movement of your toes. But with thick socks they were fine, and when I pull the drawstring fairly tight, they do fit pretty snug. But to be honest with you, they're so flexible and they're so lightweight. They're definitely the lightest, most flexible pair of shoes I now own. Even though my entire collection is barefoot shoes, they are the most flexible, just because, I mean, they're entirely made of rubber. Let me show you. I can completely roll them up like so. You know, I mean, what pair of wellies can you do that with? When you look side by side, the difference is astonishing. Like, they're really, really amazing. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried about them being a bit loose, but I think with either some leg warmers or some longer or higher, thicker socks, they'll be just fine. And the advantages of them definitely outweigh the fact that they're probably maybe half a size too big for me. I haven't actually had an opportunity to wear these outdoors yet, so please bear that in mind in this video, that I am only doing a sort of unboxing review of them. I've walked around the house in them, I've tried them on with toe socks, with thick socks, without socks, but I haven't actually worn them outdoors yet. But to wrap this video up, I am just going to also run through maybe what I feel could be some disadvantages of them. I'm going to give you a final close-up look of them, and then I'm going to, I guess, share a few of the things, maybe just as heads up for you, or things that I maybe feel that they lack. But yeah, so here is the final close-up of them. You can see the cuff here with the drawstring. There's very little grip, there's absolutely no tread on the sole, but they are completely flexible, zero drop and thin. So I think possibly the three disadvantages that I just wanted to point out in this video, the first one being the toe box, which I've already mentioned. It is a little bit tapered. It's not as narrow as standard conventional mainstream shoes, but it isn't as wide as typical barefoot shoes. So I've already covered that in the video. That could be a disadvantage to some of you. Personally, not being able to find a single pair of fully waterproof rain boots that are barefoot means that I am willing to sort of forego that slight disadvantage because they offer everything else. The other thing I will say is that with them being fully waterproof, it does mean that they are not breathable at all. So the entire inside is completely sealed. I also did a water test on these, which I do with all of my barefoot shoes, or the ones that claim to be water resistant or waterproof, of course, when I first buy them. And I also actually submerge these in a sink of water, so with the cuff out of the water, of course, with some weight on top of them, just to fully make sure that they were completely waterproof and my feet would be completely protected. Because I'm being honest, for me personally, £70 for a pair of welly boots is quite expensive, and I hadn't heard of the company before. You know, my opinion of them currently is a positive one, but I didn't want to spend, you know, £70 on a pair of boots that were possibly not very well made, and they just sort of, you know, a rubber sleeve sort of glued together basically. So I did all the rigorous tests that I would usually do, apart from wearing them outside yet, because these, for example, these old conventional standard, I think Mountain Warehouse ones, they cost me, I think, £25. So that's really the maximum I would ever be prepared to spend on a boot that I'm also not going to be wearing particularly often. They're not an everyday boot. They'll just be for certain extreme occasions, if you want to call it that. So I really wanted to make sure that I was getting good value for money. And then, so like I said, they are fully waterproof, so they're not going to be breathable on the inside, so just bear that in mind. And then finally, the last thing, which is quite bothersome for me, I must admit, particularly during the filming of this video, is that because they're natural rubber, they do have this waxy sort of residue on them. So the website does state this, so they do make you aware of this sort of before you buy them. I'm just trying to find where it says it. It's something to do with blooming. Oh, I can't seem to find it now. Here we go, here we go, here we go. So you may notice a white powdery film, so-called blooming, on the rubber. This is characteristic of high quality natural rubber and is normal. If you wish to remove, please do so with a damp cloth. If the rubber is sticky to touch, then please wipe the boots down before storing them away. So that is definitely something that I noticed immediately. Handling them throughout this video and twisting them about and, you know, showing them to you and touching them for the length of this video, I can see a lot of the white residue. I don't know whether you're able to see that on camera. I hope that you can. It is a bit bothersome, and it sort of shows up and appears, I guess, the more you touch them. Under usual circumstances, once I've finished filming this video, obviously I'm not going to be touching them and handling them for, you know, half an hour or whatever it is. So technically it shouldn't be an issue, but I do think it's something for you to bear in mind, although they do say it on the website anyway. They do warn you in advance. And I guess it's a good sign that they're natural rubber. It's not an issue, but it does leave a waxy, sticky feeling on your fingers, which you can just simply wash off with water. But in terms of maybe throwing them in a bag that you feel precious about, or in a rucksack that is maybe very special to you, just bear in mind that that may rub off on wherever you decide to store them. Obviously, if they're in their storage bag, I haven't wrapped these the right way around, but yeah, if you're keeping them in their storage bag, then it doesn't really matter, because also these are rain boots, so technically they're going to be getting wet anyway. But yeah, just the waxy white residue on them is something that you don't experience with these. But you know, to be fair, I think it's testament to them being natural rubber, which I actually think is more of an advantage. So that brings us to the end of the video. I really do hope that you found it helpful, and as always I do apologise if I go off on a bit of a tangent or ramble at times during the video. My brain unfortunately works a lot faster than what I can verbalise, so I'm grateful for your patience. If you did enjoy the video and you found it helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Also hit that notification bell as well if you want to keep updated on any future barefoot shoe videos, which I am very much sure there will be soon. I'll also be doing a video all about toe spacers and toe socks very soon when I can get round to it. So yeah, stay tuned for that. In the meantime, take care and stay safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.